All right, y'all. Good morning. This is my first time using the new feature of going live in long form on YouTube. And I absolutely love it. Number one, I'm going to tell you why I love it before I get into this video is I love this idea because this is perfect for those of you who really do use like Instagram and TikTok and you go live. But you come over here and do it on Facebook, on YouTube, and you're literally like killing two birds with one stone. You're doing what you automatically do, which is go lives, but now it becomes content on YouTube. And so it's another form of you not having to, oh, let me sit down, let me schedule this, let me create this video, let me edit, and you can just come right here in raw form and talk. And now you went live and you got content. All right. So I want to get into this video and ask the question, are you really ready for entrepreneurship? Like, do you really want to be an entrepreneur? And I believe that so many people, with the use of social media has glorified entrepreneurship. It has given a false, illusion that this thing is something that you get into that's super easy. You're going to make a lot of money and you're going to live this glamorous life. But what they fail to tell you is they fail to tell you or talk about the heart pulls that it's going to have on you. The I don't even want to say mental abuse, but the if it affects, how can I say this? Not affects your mental health, but are you mentally strong enough to go through it? Because there will be some days that you want to quit. There will be some days that this thing could make you feel like you're about to go into depression, anxiety, like all of these feelings and all of these things that are tied to entrepreneurship that most people do not talk about. And so you have people who jump into entrepreneurship not understanding the whole game, not understanding what to expect. And when things don't turn out like they saw on socials or like they saw for someone else's life, then immediately they want to pull out. And there are two things. I think there's a lot of people in entrepreneurship who haven't been called to be entrepreneurs. And I think there's a lot of people in entrepreneurship who have failed to continue in it. They've bailed out. They've abandoned the ship way too soon, all because they weren't really prepared. And so I've been an entrepreneur for 21 years now. And I am in a season where I'm literally starting over. Like, I have had my successes. I have had my highs. I'm talking about running and operating six-figure businesses. I'm talking about building a strong brand. I'm talking about mastering social media. I'm talking about um, having a boutique. Opened up a boutique where in the first 2 years we made over 200K. Like, when I tell you that I have had success in entrepreneurship, I have had success. I have owned and operated a salon, and the salon is still standing. I don't own it right now. Well, I'm getting ready to end my ownership. But the salon will go on after that. Like, and it's been over 10 years. But I'm in a point of my life where I literally had to start over from scratch. I'm talking about coming high from off my high mountain to now in the valley, and I'm having to rebuild everything again. And that can give you a gut check, right? That's a reality check. Like, that was the one thing that really happened that made me sit here and think and say, are you really ready? Like, for entrepreneurship, like, do you really want to be an entrepreneur? And for me to have gone through all of those things that I've experienced, the heartache, the depression, the anxiety, dealing with the self-doubt, dealing with fear, dealing with shame, releasing myself from being attached to money and attached to all of the things, thinking that that validates me, thinking that those things were the things that made me me, and having to regroup and reframe my mind was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And for me to actually be going back into this thing again, like, I know for sure that I am built for entrepreneurship. So let's really dig into this. So when I looked up entrepreneurship, because there's so many different definitions and things for it, right? You can look at entrepreneurship as the ability to create systems or to organize something and put things in place to create a business so that you can have money coming in. And eventually, like, this business works for you. So when you wake up in the morning, you got deposits, you got sales, you have things that are happening for you without you physically having to do these things, right? The definition, when I looked it up, was defined as somebody who businesses, organizes and structures businesses or a business, and they assume greater financial risk in order to do so. And so I really sat in that thing and I'm like, most people aren't prepared for the risk because we talk about the end result. We talk about all the money you can make. We talk about the lifestyle you can have. We talk about the freedom that it presents. We talk about all of the good things of entrepreneurship, but nobody focuses on the risk. And I think this is so important because if you understand the risk, you are literally setting a strong foundation to have longevity in entrepreneurship. Or you're either saving yourself from getting into something that you really ain't prepared for, that you really don't have the capacity for. And that's going to save you mentally, spiritually, and physically. And so let's talk about the first risk, the financial risk. We're so focused on making the money, right? That we forget that we have to take on a financial risk in order to make the money. We forget that we have to invest in the products. We forget that we have to invest in the systems. We forget that we have to invest, number one, in ourselves, because you are the one who is going to form the business. You are the one who is going to carry the weight of the business on your back until it is able to carry itself. I know we hear a lot of people say businesses work on their own, da 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 da. A business can't do nothing without you. Let's just be real here. Let's just state the facts. A business can do nothing without you. So are you willing to invest the time and the money in yourself in order to make this thing grow? Are you willing to say, I'm going to put my money here and not be able to see an instant return on it, but know that I'm going to get a return? It's like the stock market, right? You put your money in the stock market and you are like, I'm making a wise decision on which stocks to invest in. And based off of my wise decision, hopefully I will get a return. But sometimes I got to sit on that stock, right? Sometimes I got to leave my money in there and watch it grow over the long term. It is the same thing with entrepreneurship, right? We've come into this thing where it's just all about fast money, fast money, fast money. Oh, I'm starting a business, and if in 2 months my business is not making six figures, then I'm quitting, and it's all wrong, and I feel like a failure, and all of these things. And I just want to say, like, it takes time. Like anything that is long lasting takes time. If we look at these major personal brands, if we look at these major brands that are businesses, one thing that they all have in common is time. They have literally taken the time to build this thing to a place where it literally is long standing, right? When people say Rome wasn't built in a day, like that's for real. But we could still go and see these, and if we go to Egypt, like we could still go see these pyramids. The things that took the time to build because they were built correctly last. And so we have to get out of this thing of we want it right now, instant gratification. And we have to learn to operate in delayed gratification. And so when you're talking about investing, right, or taking on the risk of a financial investment, then you have to be able to say, I have to deny myself instant gratification. I know this is going to happen, but it may not happen when I think it's going to happen or right now. But I'm so invested in this thing and I believe in it that no matter what, it's going to happen. And I think a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people aren't talking about it. A lot of people aren't speaking about it. Okay. Let's talk about number two. So number one was your financial risk, right? Number two is your mental risk. Are you mentally prepared? Because as an entrepreneur, we take ourselves through, like, the process is very mentally tasking and people don't talk about it. And this is what I mean. Are you built and can you say, I am ready if the business doesn't work? Am I ready if I'm investing and I'm doing all these things and a year goes by and I haven't made $1? Can I deal with that? Can I deal with having to close down a business and restart? Like, are you mentally ready to take on that risk, right? And most people aren't. And so when those things happen, they fall apart, they are depressed, they have anxiety. All of these things happen to them and they don't know how to recoup. And I'm not saying that if you fall into these categories or if you fall into these things, there's something wrong. I'm saying you got to know how to recoup, right? You got to know how to go through the process in order to get to where you're going. You can't stay depressed. You can't live in anxiety. It's like, when is the point that you're going to say, okay, this business doesn't define me, neither the numbers or the success right now, because I know for a fact that I am doing the thing that God has called me to do. And because I am doing the thing that God has called me to do, my God does not lie and it's going to work. And so now you have to invest in yourself mentally. What are the things what are you listening to? What are you reading? What are self-talks that you are having with yourself? And it is my firm belief from being in this thing for 21 years is that when you understand the risk at hand, right? When you understand what you may face, you can prepare for it. Like, that's why I love the Bible. I love the Bible because God understood all of the things that we were going to face in this thing called life. He understood that wholeheartedly. So he gave downloads, right? And he gave words to people to create this beautiful book of literature to help us. So when we face those things, we are prepared. So if we take that and we apply it to entrepreneurship, if we already lay out all the risk from the beginning, we are prepared. And it's not to say that you won't feel a certain way. It's not to say that you won't feel like you're going to quit. It's not to say that you won't feel like this is for the birds, I don't want to do it anymore. But it is to say, you can get through those thoughts. You can get through those experiences. You can shift your mindset and say, okay, I feel like this right now, but I know I'm not going to stay like this. You can say, okay, I know I'm going to regroup and reframe, right? And I'm going to revisit this thing. But each time that I have to regroup and reframe, instead of me thinking of that this is a failure, now I'm like, okay, I'm learning the lessons. Entrepreneurship is a journey with many paths, and we have to visit every single one of those paths because they all come together to one particular thing. And that's us really walking into the essence of success in entrepreneurship, and not just money, but holistic success. I'm talk about that a little later. And so when I'm able to do that, I'm able to get past those things. And I'm speaking, y'all, from experience. Like, I am in a season right now where I'm literally having to start over from the ground with everything. I had to start over my clientele back in September because I retired and I left being a hairstylist of 18 years. At the time that I left, it was 18 years. And so I had to come back in September of last year. I'm restarting my boutique. My boutique did over $200,000 in sales in its first 2 years. And then I had to abruptly close it, right? Like, come on, that's a financial hit I took. That's an emotional hit I took. And that's a physical hit I took, right? And then my coaching business, right? My coaching business was going good, and I got so ahead of myself, and I was like, oh, I don't have to really invest the time and the money into this. And, it's just doing what it's doing. And so that went down. And so now I'm at the point, literally, at one point of my life, I was up here making multiple six figures, having access to cash at any time, being able to go where I wanted to go where I wanted to go, buy what I wanted to buy, do what I wanted to do, all of those things. And now I'm back at the beginning. Can you imagine being an entrepreneur for 20 years and you got to start that thing all over again? Do you have what it takes after 6 months having to start over? Do you have what it takes to not accept a no, but look at a no as a redirection? Look at a no as a new path. Look at a no as if this is just not for me right now. This is just not the thing that I need to do right now. Like, do you have the capacity for that? And so we got to understand, oh, come on. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Capacity is a huge part of entrepreneurship. I'm a firm believer that everyone isn't called to entrepreneurship. right? Everyone is not called to entrepreneurship because it takes a certain, you gotta, like, me and my husband, we're both entrepreneurs, and we say this all the time. There's a certain level of crazy that you gotta have to be an entrepreneur, right? Like, regardless of what the whole world is saying, you gotta be able to say, I believe in myself and the God that I serve enough that I can make this thing happen on my own. The, of course, with God, but without the assistance of, I'm going to clock in, somebody else paying me, I'm going to clock in, somebody else paying me, things like that. Like, you got to believe that. You also got to understand, until I get myself to that point where I am able to fully support what I have going on, until I'm able to fully support my business, whether at my bills, my lifestyle, my everything, you have to understand that I may still have to work for someone else. And that's why I'm a firm believer. If you don't know how to support someone else's dreams and work for someone else, you are not going to be able to work for yourself. So that brings me to the third thing. Working for other people is not a hindrance. It's not something to be embarrassed about. It's not something to be ashamed about. It's literally training you for the place that God is about to take you into entrepreneurship. You got free hands-on training, right? And so you get to do this thing, and you get to practice on somebody else's dime and somebody else's time and get paid. And so every time you step on that job that you have to do for somebody else, or whatever the case may be, you need to look at that as, this is my training. If this was my business, how would I operate? Looking at the business structure, what would I change? What would I adjust? What would I do? All of these things is going to make you a better entrepreneur. Also, there will be a time where you are going to have to go back to what you were doing, which means you might, like for me as a hairstylist, I had to go back to becoming a hairstylist because that was my 9 to 5. My hairstylist, me being a hairstylist and me working 9 to 5 is literally freeing me financially so that I can rebuild my boutique and rebuild my coaching business without having to worry about the pressure of money. And so if I'm not worrying about, I got to get money, I got to get this, I got to get that, then I can make sound decisions on the businesses that I'm building. I don't have to make decisions based off of a need, right? Because that's like we make bad decisions based off of desperation. So while I am rebuilding, I am actually using what I make from the salon to support me financially, to support me, and to support my other businesses so that I can get them to grow. These systems that I got to have in place, for my coaching business and for the boutique, those systems got to be paid for. The things that I need to order inventory. Something got to pay for inventory. And so when I looked back at me having to go back into the salon, like when God gave me that mindset, it took the guilt and the shame away, because the enemy wanted me to feel like I was a failure. He wanted to say, see, you did this all this time, and here you go right back at the same place. You back working in the salon. How you going to show up and tell these people how to become an entrepreneur and all of this stuff when now you working in the salon again? Like, the enemy came and tried to distort my thought process, but I invested enough into me, right? I invested enough into my mindset, and not just financially, but also spiritually, y'all. And so I laid the foundation to prepare me for times like this. And so I was able to regroup and reframe my thought process and say, this right here is building again. I started to walk in gratitude, because I would say, I said, thank you, God, for giving me another opportunity. See, we think of start over as embarrassment and as in shame. So you will have to start over in entrepreneurship. If you've never failed, like I like to say, you aren't a real entrepreneur until you have failed and you have gotten back up and started again. That is entrepreneurship, right? Not because we can start something and have some kind of instant success. But the real test is when things ain't looking the way that you want them to look. When your money looking a little funny, when the client's a little ghost, when the sales ain't salesing, and when life begins to life, do you have what it takes literally to say, I'm going to go through this storm and weather it, because I know without a doubt that this thing I'm building is going to happen. I know without a doubt that this thing is going to be successful. And that's what it takes for entrepreneurship. But that doesn't come just by saying, oh, I think about it. You have to make some risk. You also have to make some investments in the things that you are doing. So you got to know that you know that you know that you want to be an entrepreneur. You got to believe in yourself, and you got to be able to block out everything else that's going around you. Right? The other thing with entrepreneurship that people don't talk about is this comparison trap. Okay. Understand that you will look at other people and you will see their journey and you will see their growth and you will start comparing yourself to them. Like, you're a human, it is inevitable, it will happen. But do you have what it takes to reframe that? Do you have what it takes before you get engulfed in it and you get trapped in it to say, whoa, 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 whoa. Let me look at this a different way. Like, instead of me feeling some kind of way, or maybe instead of me looking at what I have to be and feeling inadequate about it, let me look at it as, okay, God is showing me what is possible. What is it that they are doing that I can add to what I'm doing? And I'm not talking about, oh, they selling shirts, so let me sell shirts. I'm talking about looking at the whole structure of it. Like, are they consistent? Are they showing up? Are they pushing through? Like, what are the characteristics that I can take and I can say, what can I use? How can I use this as an example and an inspiration to keep me moving and to keep me forward, right? Comparison kills. Comparison is the biggest trap in entrepreneurship. It is the reason why so many people are out of pocket and out of lane. It's the reason why so many people are doing things that they haven't been called to do. It's the reason why so many people are making a lot of money, but they are so miserable because they are trying to keep up with those around them instead of focusing on the lane that they have. And so when you are focused on your own lane and you enter into storms, those storms are a little easier to handle because now you are not faced with the pressure of, oh gosh, their stuff is still up and running and they going and I'm not. Right? Now you can say, okay, this is my journey. What do I need to learn from this time? What do I need to do in this time? How do I need to? And sometimes it's just, you need to chill out. Like, honestly, sometimes it's just God saying, I need you to rest because you've been moving, and I got a new download for you. And so I need you in a place still enough in order to receive this new download to rebuild. And so I just wanted to come on, y'all, and really talk about like the reality of entrepreneurship. Like, give the real, the raw, the ugly, and the good about it. And that way you can ask yourself, like, that's a good question. Do I really want to be an entrepreneur? And if your answer is yes, then you will start equipping yourself to be ready for everything. And you won't fully be ready for it, but you will be able to get through it, if you know what I mean. And I wanted to go back to my journey, right? To kind of tie all of this in together. And so I'm restarting my boutique again. From making no sales, no nothing, to rebuilding this thing, but doing it a different way. Because the one thing that God spoke to me about when we restart or when we have to do something again or when we get a do-over, it's saying, I'm giving you a chance to do this, but make it better by learning from what you did or did not do in the last one, right? So when we think about, okay, I might not be getting enough sales, or this is not working for me right now, or I literally started a business that I wasn't supposed to start. So God, what is it that you want me to start? Like, think of the start over as new, fresh ground. It's an opportunity to get it right. It's an opportunity to do it again. But in order to be able to get to that point, you got to be fully invested in it. And you got to be ready to take on the risk again. And the most important thing is you got to be able to heal from what happened in the past, because that can create a huge blocker from you, a huge blocker in keeping you from moving forward to the new thing. And so it's like, that didn't work, but this will. And the number one thing that is attached to that is that we attach our identity. And people don't talk about this. Our identity in our businesses and the things that we are able to create and the things that we are able to do, the success that we have, the money that we have, the following that we attach our identity to that, and we don't even know we do it. So when all of those things are taken away, when all of those things are no longer there, we feel like we have been defeated. We feel like we have been crushed. We feel like we are a failure. And I'm here to tell y'all today that you are not a failure. You are only a failure if you refuse to keep moving. You can't fail at something that you keep moving in, because the word says and science says eventually it will happen. So we only fail at the things that we do not do. Okay? I wanted to put that out there and tell y'all that we got to change our mindset when it comes to that. And so you got to be able to look at that thing and you got to be able to say, okay, we're about to do this again. Like, I encourage all of you who are watching this, I encourage you to really go back, and the people who you admire, the people who you see who've had great success, really go back and do a case study on their journeys, and you'll find one common thing. They have all hit rock bottom. They have all failed. They have all came to a pinnacle point in their career and in their business where it was like, do I stay or do I go? And they chose to stay. And when they chose to stay, they literally defied society. And so success has become abundant for them. And so I want to make sure that when y'all get to your points, that you are defying society, you are defying the enemy, you are making everything a lie, and you are pushing through so you can get to your point of success. And I'm going to share this last thing with you all. I decided to, in what's this, March? Yeah, this is March. So January, I was like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to relaunch this boutique. January, and let me put a note in here. I have not yet even did a full launch. I've just kind of been telling people that I'm getting ready to launch it. I've put a few things out there. January, I made $200 and something. And I celebrated that $200 and something, even though I've had $24,000 and $26,000 months before. One thing God really wanted me to do was learn how to be grateful on my journey of entrepreneurship. And so I celebrated that $200 and something. In February, I made $436. And I said, okay, I see you, big God. I'm grateful for that. I'm celebrating that. We're here at March. March is March 11th. I'm already at $483. And we're not even finished with March. And so I wanted to share that with you guys, and not even just to talk about a little bit of financial things. Like, I wanted, because it's tangible, I wanted to share that with you guys so that you could see it is possible to rebuild. It is possible to restart. Like, take what you did that worked before and then put a new twist with it. And you will definitely be able to have a comeback from anything. And that is so important to know, because there will be a moment in your entrepreneurial journey where you have to have a comeback. And I want all of you all to be strong enough to be able to come back, because I do believe if you are watching this video right here while I'm live, or if you are watching this video and you find it 2-3 years from now on YouTube, I do believe that you are watching this because you know God has called you to something greater in the marketplace. God has already given you a vision of where you're going to be. He's already told you and shown you what success looks like for you. And so you got to do it. There is no other option. If you don't do it, no one has failed you but yourself. And so I want to make sure that I begin to show up here on YouTube, right? And show up on my Instagram and all my other socials and show up to help you all through this journey of entrepreneurship. Not the curated version of entrepreneurship, but the real version of entrepreneurship. Sharing all of the successes, but also sharing all of the I don't even want to say failures, but sharing all of the downsides of entrepreneurship as well. Taking you all through a journey so that it empowers and it inspires you to keep going through your journey. Because I believe that the thing that God has called you to do, that you are going to do it and you're going to do it well. You just sometimes need a little push. Sometimes you just need a little assistance. And I am bold enough to say, like, I'm literally starting this thing over, and I'm doing it live, like in real time. I'm not waiting until I get to 6 figures and then bust out on the scene and say, I made 6 figures and da 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 da. Like, I want people to see the journey. I want them to see the ups and the downs, but I want them to see how God is going to prevail in every situation. And so again, I ask you, do you really want to be an entrepreneur? And if your answer is yes, if you are giving your yes to God and you are giving your yes to yourself to show up in the marketplace fully loaded, armed, and ready to fire, I petition you now to start doing the things necessary to get to that place. I petition you now to start taking the risk on yourself, and not just financially, but mentally and physically, right? Start building the foundation for what it is that you see. And no matter what, y'all got to promise me that y'all not going to quit, right? You can take breaks, you can take pauses, but just do not quit. Okay? So let me get in here because I got to get these other late kids who got late school today, get them ready and off to school. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If y'all would like to see more lives from me, more videos, more topics, let me know. I'm going to come out with a series talking about a lot of things. Because the one thing that in my start over that I said is I will not be boxed in. This whole niche thing, and I'm gonna do a video on that too. This whole niche thing, it don't work for me because I'm multifaceted, right? Like, I'm God's child, I'm God's daughter, and God created me to be multifaceted. And so, although I don't think that I'm supposed to stick to a thing, I know that there will be a thing that I give most of my attention and time to at a point. But God has really refocused and redirected me to stick to a group of people, right? So niching down on my community and not necessarily what I do, because God says as your community grows, you need to be able to grow with them. You need to be able to offer the things that they need. And so if I'm only teaching how to start an ebook, if I'm only teaching how to build your Instagram, well, what happens when ebooks and Instagram are no longer a thing? That keeps me boxed in, and now what am I going to teach? But if I'm focusing on my community, right? If I'm niching down to my community, I can change with the time. If my community needs this in this season, I can give it to them. If they need that in that season, I can give it to them. And the last thing I want to leave you with is that I keep saying that. It's like a preacher, and he always be like, and the last thing, but I probably, this is the last thing. Is that we got to learn how to embrace every aspect of who we are in entrepreneurship. Don't let people box you in, right? And so I'm a hairstylist. I'm a boutique owner. In essence, those things make me an entrepreneur. I'm a creator because I create my own products, right? I'm also a mother. I'm also a wife. I'm also a sports mom. I'm also a Christian. I'm also I'm a daughter of God. And so I don't have to limit myself to being one version of myself, right? And so God really gave me like a whole deeper meaning to I am the brand. And God is telling me I am the brand, and there are people out there. There's a community of people who are just like you. And I designed you, I created you, and I sent you here on this earth to reach that group of that group of people. And if you hold back any aspects of who you are, you're not going to be able, you're not doing what I asked you to do. You're not being as impactful and as influential as I asked you to do. Because the thing is even though we are entrepreneurs and we are on this entrepreneur journey, how do we have success with it being all of the people that we are as well? Being having all of the roles and all of the titles and doing all of the things that we have, right? And I do believe that there's going to be a thing that catapults you, that gets you going, but it doesn't have to be the thing that you stick with, right? And so once you get to a point where that thing has given you exposure, it has given you lessons, it has given you experiences, then you're able to branch off with your community as they require more of you. So I hope y'all took some nuggets away from that, but I think I'm going to come back and do another video on that. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. And you guys probably all are new to me. And so I just want to tell you one thing that I value the most is other people's time. Like, I value the time that you took to sit here and watch this live with me live. And for those of you who are watching the replay of this, I thank you for that. And I am very appreciative and I am very grateful, because that's the biggest investment that you can make. Because you can always get your money back, but you can't get the time back. And so for you to say that what you are saying is valuable to me, that I'm going to give you my time and listen, I am always grateful. Even when people just drop a comment, like you took 2 seconds to write that comment, and I am so grateful for your 2 seconds. So I want to end this with I am so grateful and I am so thankful for each and every one of you who has taken the time to sit with me and allow me to share and to pour into you. I thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And I love y'all. I mean it. And if you don't love me back, that's your problem, not mine, because I'm going to love you anyway. Peace.